everyone. It's Le'Ann and Andrea from AAPL and NAPE.
We just finished Le'Ann's exclusive Path to Power interview, in which she shares insights and wisdom from her storied career in the energy industry. You can gain more insight from empowered women at AAPL's Women in Energy Institute later this fall.
We also want to invite our WIN family to sign up for the 2026 NAPE Summit with promo code WIN26. That's WEN26 to save $100 on your registration. Join thousands of energy professionals from February 18th through the 20th in Houston, Texas. See y'all at NAPE.
Hello, and welcome to the Women's Energy Network Path to Power series. My name is Andrea Spencer, and I'm the Director of Communications for AAPL and NAPE. I'm joined here today with my longtime friend, mentor, and colleague, Le'Ann Callihan. Le'Ann is the EVP and COO of the American Association of Professional Landmen and NAPE, the world's largest upstream energy prospect expo. She's been involved with WIN for many years and has made an indelible mark, devoting more than 3 decades serving AAPL members and NAPE events. A small-town girl from Gainesville, Texas, she is the driving force behind AAPL and NAPE's incredible success. Let's find out how she got here. So, how exactly did your journey working for AAPL and NAPE begin?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and I am so honored to be a part of this WIN series. So thank you first, Andrea. And well, it all started when I was an intern at TCU back in 1988, and I had to take an internship class. And my major was journalism with a minor in business, so I had a lot of journalism courses, but also marketing and advertising and those types of courses. And so I went to speak with my advisor, and they said, okay, well, we've got 2 internships. I was like, let's hear it. One is with the American Association of Petroleum Landmen. And I was like, what is that? And the advisor didn't really know either, but they said it was in the publications department or mainly advertising. I was like, okay. And it was going to pay $5 an hour. And I was like, okay, well, that's pretty good. Because a lot of times internships, sure, you don't get paid anything. So, and I was really just wanting some experience. And then they said, well, the other option is with Neiman Marcus. And I was like, oh, Neiman Marcus. And I was like, well, what is that about? And basically it was in the marketing department. And, back in the day when you would walk into the store and there'd be someone, welcome to Neiman Marcus, and squirt the perfume on the people. That's pretty much what it was going to be. But I wanted that job so bad. I'm like,
totally
$10 an hour in 1988 for an internship. I mean, I was like so super excited. And, again, being at Neiman Marcus, I just thought that was so cool. So I go home and I tell my parents about it on the weekend. I was explaining both the positions. And of course, I just kept on and on how I just really wanted that Neiman Marcus job. I was like, Mom, it's so cool. I'm so excited. I just love that. And she's like, well, Le'Ann, she's a very wise woman, Christian lady. And she was like, you just need to pray about it. And I was like, okay, I'll pray about it, but I really want that Neiman Marcus job. And so as it turns out, I got the APL job for $5 an hour. And, the rest is history. What happened was, so I finished my internship class, and then APL asked me to stay on and work part-time. And so I did that. And then after I graduated from TCU in 1990, they hired me full-time. And I've never looked back since. And APL and later on NAPE, it's a family to me. I'm so blessed to have been able to been in a career for this long in the same family, if you will, and just met incredible people, work with an incredible team, and I just truly am blessed.
Oh, that's amazing. So what is the secret to your longevity here? I mean, it seems like you've been here going on 35 years. What is the secret?
I think really the main thing is being adaptable. Working for an association, even though I've been here 34 years, I basically have a new boss every year because, we have a volunteer board and executive committee. So we have a new president every year. And, it could be someone who works for a major, or they're an independent, and they could be from, Dallas or Houston or Mississippi or, this guy, anywhere in the United States. And so I think being able to learn from all of those different types of leaders and be adaptable to that, I think that's played a key role. I also think, always leading and working with a servant's heart, and developing relationships. Building relationships is a big part of the energy business, and I think that's helped me a lot in this journey. And taking the ups and downs of the energy industry, as you know, it's very cyclical. So being able to enjoy a roller coaster and just, know that hard work pays off, and just having a passion for it, and in realizing the importance of the energy industry and what it does, and the importance of the landman's role in the energy industry. I think that's one thing that also really just keeps me excited about my job and keeps me going.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So you've been part of a lot of decisions throughout your tenure here. Which one stands out to you as being one of the most pivotal in kind of getting where you are today?
So there are a few that were decisions that, left a kind of a mark on me that the AAPL has done, through its board of directors. One was in the early 90s, we were known as the American Association of Petroleum Landmen. And the board made the decision, and again, this was an entire process of research and due diligence to see, should we change our name? And we ended up changing our name to the American Association of Professional Landmen. So it's kind of foresight on going beyond just fossil fuels. Not that that's not still our base and so important, oil and gas, but to establish this as not just a petroleum association, but a professional association. We have a great certification program. We have a top-notch magazine, and those sorts of things qualified us as a professional association. And that decision was made to kind of say, hey, to the industry, landmen are important. Mm-hmm. They are just as important in the energy scheme as are engineers and geologists. So that decision in 1990, I think, was huge to do that. And then just recently with the energy expansion, we took it another step and made the decision to expand the definition of land work to include all energy sectors, because again, landmen play an important role in all facets, and their skills transition to whether you're talking oil and gas, wind, solar, geothermal, data centers. Land and community is a huge part of that. And so to make those decisions so that the industry and the public at large knows the role of the landman, I think that was a great decision. And of course, the new TV show doesn't hurt either.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then, of course, one of the major ones that I've talked about many times is, I was in my early 20s. We had a very small staff working at AAPL when the idea and the concept of NAPE, sprouted. And there was a group of landmen. It was our Issues Management Council that came up with this idea, led by our EVP, Jack Dieter, to develop a central marketplace for, E&P players, buyers and sellers to come together and make deals happen. Everybody knows about NAPE. And what really left an impact was I was in the board meeting, and this was in 1992, when the board of directors was making the decision whether or not to move forward and risk $40,000 of AAPL's money, which was huge at that time. AAPL, we were having to cut some of our services and things like that to be able to, keep a balanced budget. I mean, times were very hard. And that was kind of part of a NAPE too, is to kind of spark the energy industry by, coming up with this new concept. And so there were a lot of naysayers. There was a lot of people that did not think NAPE would work. They thought it was like a starving artist sale, that there's no way that people would get in one room together and show their maps and all of that. But the concept worked because it was valuable. It, instead of having to travel to Oklahoma, Dallas, Denver to show your prospect, you could come to one place and meet, people that were interested or wanted and connect people to get a partner in your deal. So I say all that to say that vote was not unanimous. It was very close. And if you now think back, what if those directors would have said no? We can't afford to risk it, because no one else wanted to do it. No one wanted to put the skin in the game except AAPL. Now, we did get partners later on after it was successful, but AAPL, those landmen, they had the grit and they wanted to take the risk. And so that showed me a couple of things. One, how valuable it is to follow your gut and take a risk. And two, how important it is when you do take a position on a board for an organization, because those were all volunteers making that decision. And so every time when we have orientation now for our directors, I bring up that story, take every decision seriously, because it literally could change the course, not only of AAPL, but of the industry, because NAPE truly has changed the industry, in my opinion. And it has also, made billions of dollars for people, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously you've had some mentors along the way, I would imagine. What kind of role has mentorship played in your journey?
It's played a huge role. As I mentioned before, I feel like every AAPL president and NAPE chairman, and so I've had worked with more than 35 presidents, 30 chairmen, I think. And, working so closely with those leaders and learning from those leaders has made a huge impact, because they were all so different and had different philosophies. And, I could learn something from every one of them. So that was, just played a huge role. Also just mentors like my mom and my sister, that they both, played a huge role in my success, just giving me advice and support, and which really helped me to learn how important supporting other people, how important that is. Like, I always like to lead with a servant's heart. I mean, I feel like encouragement is one of my gifts. And when others succeed, you succeed. And so I think mentorship is wonderful. And WIN's program, the mentoring program, I've enjoyed that so much. I've been a leader in that, but at the same time, some of the women that I've met through that mentoring group, I've learned so much from them, and just also developed great friendships and business relationships. And it's just wonderful. Again, this business is all about relationship building, in my opinion, and mentor and mentees, that's all a part of it.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. I had the privilege of attending a really impactful WIM executive retreat with you a few years ago, and we discovered what our superhero powers were. And yours was a spot-on experience architect. So I definitely thought that was a really neat retreat that we got to go on. But how has that superhero power held to you, in your career, just knowing that that's what you are?
Yeah. So that was so fun. I love that retreat. And again, just another benefit of, building your network and being a part of organizations like WIN. So my superpower of being an experienced architect, again, and I keep harping on this, it's about building relationships, and there's no better way to do that than to share an experience with someone. And so when we, as a team, and you know this, Andrea, when we are thinking about, providing a service to the industry that's what AAPL and NAPE does, we want to create an experience where people can connect. So I feel like we're the connectors. And so it's just really important to be creative and be innovative and build something that people will want to come to, build Absolutely. It and they will come, and to make it valuable so that, they can share people can connect, share experience, and hopefully, either advance their career or gain a new business partner, make $1 billion deal, the sky's the limit. So, so if I had to kind of tweak my superpower, it would probably be relationship and experience architect.
Yeah. All right. So tell me, what advice would you give to someone considering a career in energy?
I would say be excited about the opportunities. You can learn about oil and gas, but then you can also learn about all these other energy sources and develop skills, to work in all different avenues. I mean, the sky's the limit. It's also really, I think, it's humbling and it's exhilarating. I can't even describe it, to know that you play a small role in an industry that literally powers the world. I mean, the energy industry is so important, to our everyday life, to the world, and to play a small role in that. It's so gratifying. And so that's kind of the advice I would give is, build a network, to learn about all the different things you could do in the energy industry. Find a mentor, join an organization, like WIN, like AAPL, to expand that network and try it out and see if you most people you talk to, some people stumble into it like I did. I stumbled into it. A lot of our members that we talk to, they didn't start out as landmen and they wouldn't do anything else today. Sure. So, I would say give it a chance, and it's gaining more and more recognition, because of the Landman series. I mean, a lot of universities now are having special courses on the land profession, but also, if you're interested in finance, or geology, I mean, all the things. If you're interested in law, I mean, that's a huge facet of the energy business. So really, I think if you could kind of key in on your own skills, I guarantee you could find how those skills fit into some facet or another of the energy business.
Okay. So about boards, people might be interested in how you've gotten on some boards lately. You are currently serving on the advisory council for WIN Global, the advisory board for the Ralph Lowe Energy Institute at the TCU Neely School of Business, and are a founder and chair of the Valley View Education Foundation. So what advice do you have for people who are looking to get on a board?
Okay, so I have a couple of things that I would advise on that. But first, I do want to mention, because I failed to say, when you're thinking about the energy industry, what advice, and my advice would be to choose joy. So choose something that brings you joy, so that way you're not going to a job. Oh. My sons on a Sunday night, when they were small, they're grown now, but when they were small, they would always say, "Mom, do you have to go to work tomorrow?" And I would say, "Son, I don't have to go to work. I get to go to work." And I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that in this podcast today, because it's real important to choose to have joy in your job. And then when you do, it's not like you're having to go to work. You're like, "Oh, I get to go to work." I mean, we just had a bad ice storm, and I'm like, "Yay, I get to go to the office today." But anyway, but back to your second question. On serving on boards, I think the main thing is to be willing and able to do it. I highly recommend choosing a board that you're passionate about, because if you want to be on a board just to like build your resume, I don't recommend it. If you can't contribute, then it's only going to be, in my opinion, detrimental to you and to the organization. So I would say be willing and able to serve, and then say yes, but be passionate and be diligent on which board you would like to serve on, because again, you want to enjoy it.
Sure.
And you want to contribute. You don't want to just have your name on something. You want to bring value, because you reap what you sow, and so that's kind of what's gonna you put in, and then what you put in is what you're going to get out of it. So
that's great advice. All right, speaking of advice, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I would say just growing up, I'm a sports fanatic. I played sports. No. Yeah. And my sons played all the sports. And, one of my proudest accomplishment is when I won the Hustle Award. Because I think if you hustle, you're going to be successful. And we used to, I used to say to my little peewee team that I was coaching, hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. Mm-hmm. So you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not out there hustling, then the person that's been working hard, they're going to beat you. So I would say, whatever you choose to do, again, be passionate and have that hustle about you. And focus again on what you can contribute. Don't worry about what others are doing. My sister gave me that advice when I got my first, job in college. She was like, don't contribute to gossip, keep your hand, do your job. And again, you reap what you sow, and it'll come back to you. And then Leon Hirsch, one of my wonderful mentors, he's past president of AAPL. He's given me much advice over the years that has been just wonderful. And he said the same thing, worry about what you're doing, do a good job, contribute. And then he also said one time when I was being promoted to a leadership role, he's like, don't take over IT. I was like, ooh, that is good advice. Anyway, now that I'm in the EVP position, I'm like, yeah, that's a tough department. So it was just funny. That was one of the advice that he gave me. But so I would just say hustle, be innovative, have confidence to share your ideas, and try to develop that confidence as you go.
It's great. So I know being a woman in this industry can be challenging. What would you say to some women out there that were listening about how you've been able to rise to the top?
Again, I think as a woman, one of the things is being able to have a servant's heart. I think it's easier for women to, have a servant's heart leadership mindset than it is for men. Not that men can't do that, but I just think that's something, that's part of our makeup. But I also think you must have confidence. You gotta understand that you belong just as much as anyone else. And I would say, always do your due diligence, but then, and always be prepared, a little scout motto that I also learned raising boys. Be prepared so that when it is your turn, you're ready and able to just step up, and trust your gut. That's a big one.
That's a good.
Because women have great intuition. So trust your gut, because you got to take risks. I love taking risks. And you have to take risks. And that's kind of another big part of this business. And so, just trust your gut. I do have a funny story kind of about that when real early on, back when I was transitioning from the $5 an hour internship to the part-time gig at AAPL. Jack Dieter, the EVP at the time, he said, we'd love to have you stay on. And I was like, okay, great. He goes, okay, well, we'll talk about it, next Monday or whatever. So he called me in his office, and I thought, okay, I'm going to ask for $10 an hour. Because if you remember, the Neiman Marcus job was $10 an hour, and the APL internship was $5 an hour. And so, this just stuck with me. I'll never forget it. So I told myself, okay, they liked my work. They asked me to come back. I'm going to ask for $10 an hour. And so I'm literally walking down the hall to talk to Jack Dieter. Yeah. And I've already talked myself down, which a lot of us women do, that whole imposter syndrome. I'm like, oh, you better only ask for $7. You better only ask for $7. And so I go in his office, and I sit down across from him, and, he's like, love to have you come back. I said, great. Love to be here. Still just part-time on finishing up college. And he said, okay, well, so what are you thinking per hour? And in my mind, I was like, and I swear I just felt flushed, like I could feel like my face turning red. I was like, $10 an hour? And I think I said it that way. Right. And he goes, that's what I was thinking. And I thought, oh my gosh, that was like an aha moment, because I thought if I would have said 7, he would have said, oh, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. So trust your gut, and you're not going to get something that you don't ask for. So, so that was a big aha moment that I remember way back then. I love it.
Go big or go home.
That's right. Yes.
Well, this has been really, really entertaining. I love the stories. Love getting to know you a little more. Thank you so much for joining me today. I can't wait to see where your next big idea takes us, and all the exciting opportunities that you will undoubtedly bring to AAPL, NAPE, and WIN and the energy industry. So thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you at an event in the future.
Thank you.